So just before I came onto this call, I was doing a strategy session with a husband and wife, and they own best part of 16 properties. And they started talking about incorporation. They've got quite a few properties which are on a fixed term period, and most of them are due to expire in the next 6 to 9 months, which seemed like a good opportunity or time to obviously incorporate. So as we go down the road of the conversation, and near the end, they then tell me we've got £400,000 worth of losses in our own names from our rental business. And that's when I stopped them in their tracks, because I said, you're looking to obviously mitigate the Section 24 tax charges, but you've got £400,000 worth of losses. That's going to take you a certain number of years to use up, to suck up those losses. So why are you so fixated on incorporation? And they told me they'd spent so much time researching it, and up until now, either nobody had brought it to their attention, or they hadn't thought about the fact that they weren't able to take forward their losses from their own names into a limited company. And that does happen from time to time, where people don't always think through all the different steps when considering incorporation. So I would encourage you, if you're at that point, by the way, of thinking of whether or not you should incorporate, think through all the different steps and all the different considerations to make sure it works for you. I've taken loads of calls in the last 4 odd years where people have thought incorporating their property portfolio was the best thing for them to do, and it actually wasn't, for various different reasons. In fact, about 2 weeks ago, I took a call from, again, husband and wife, and they've built a pretty decent portfolio of, I think, 26 odd properties in the Nottinghamshire, Lincolnshire, that type of area. And they were, again, keen to incorporate. And I established that they had fixed rates periods on about 11 of those properties. And they're due to expire in about 3.5 years' time on average. And I was trying to kind of veer them away from talking about incorporation to say, find out what the fixed rate penalties are going to be before we have this conversation. But they were adamant, no, we're going to talk about this today, and we want to make sure we want to do this irrespective of what the penalties are. Well, we've gone through the conversation, discussed everything, they're pretty happy, they're sure they want to incorporate. They then go and find out from their lenders £120,000 in penalties if they repay those loans to incorporate. Again, a showstopper. So those kind of things appear quite often, and it's important you cover those before you actually incorporate. Now, there's a particular school of thought, in fact, that says you don't have to refinance when you incorporate. You can have a deed of trust to do that. Now, legally, that's absolutely fine. And those commentators are right. You can have a deed of trust and pass over the beneficial ownership into a limited company and legally still remain as the owners. The crunch point is, if a case, as and when it's taken to tribunal, HMRC will argue this wasn't a bona fide transaction, and then we'll try and fight tooth and nail to prove that the spirit of the law wasn't followed in terms of how Section 162 incorporation relief works. So people don't have to refinance. They can move their properties into a limited company. Is that going to work? My personal opinion is I think we'd have a problem, but I know there are tax commentators out there who have a different view, and that's fine too. And that will be proven if and when a case goes to court. Now, above and beyond, of course, Section 162 incorporation relief, one of the big advantages, and I don't want to spend too much time going through this today, Lou, but if it's okay with you, because it starts getting complex, but one of the big advantages is when you move your properties from your own name, or your names if there's 2 or more of you, into a limited company, you get an uplift in the base cost of those properties. And that can have a huge advantage. So put simply, if you've owned properties over a long period of time and they've appreciated in value and the equity is more than the debt, then there's good reason for you to incorporate in terms of A, the increase in the base cost, and B, of course, the value of the shares that you're going to get when you move your properties from your own name into the limited company. Some of the other advantages, which I'm sure you'll be aware of, are things like, obviously, you've got limited liability. Section 24 doesn't affect you. You can control your income because when the properties are in your name, you actually pay the tax on the profits. Whether or not you use those profits for personal purposes, it matters not. Whereas, of course, if you have a limited company, you only pay income tax on the profits or the cash that you take out. So if you take a salary and then you take a dividend, you can control how much of a salary you can take. You control how much of a dividend you take every year. So you can control your income tax. Of course, the flip side to that is you pay corporation tax at 19%, and then you may end up paying income tax on top of that, depending on how much income you take. Something which people use incorporation for really well, and we have done this over many years and well before Section 24 was on the radar, is to incorporate the property portfolio and then to use a trust to pass down the estate or the assets to your children. So if you are thinking about incorporating and you do have children or other family members to whom you want to leave your assets, then don't just stop at incorporation. Go that step further and fully consider setting up a trust to see what benefits that has for you and if that works for you. And again, on the flip side, generally speaking, when you refinance, you'll have to, obviously, you might have to pay a higher rate of interest as compared to the properties being in your own name. You might have to pay stamp duty, land tax, unless you're a partnership and the partnership incorporates. So that's something to bear in mind. You'll have obviously legal fees and you'll have to pay arrangement fees and valuation fees. So I've kind of quickly gone through that on the assumption that most of you either have covered this in the past or if not, you can ask me questions and I'll be happy to answer them. But there's lots of information available out there which will hopefully point you in the right direction. So tread carefully when you're thinking about and looking at incorporating your property portfolio. Just because everybody else is doing it, it doesn't mean it's right, and it doesn't mean it's right for you, because every situation and every circumstance is different. And in tax, there is no one size fits all.